As a senior in the class of 1996 at Lower Merion High School, Kobe Bryant so thoroughly dominated the competition that it only made sense for him to take his talents to the NBA. Just a year prior, Kevin Garnett became the first player in decades to make the jump from preps to the pros, and Kobe believed that he could do it as well. After a sterling 20-year NBA career, he was proved correct. This is the Anatomy of a Superstar. This is Kobe Bryant. Okay, so we have a guest for this first episode of Anatomy of a Superstar. I guess this is Mitch. This is technically season 3 of the overall series, but season 1 of Anatomy of a Superstar specifically. And our guest is Carl Baltimore. So, Carl, we know Kobe Bryant is meaningful to you and your kind of basketball life. So, when we say Kobe Bryant, what is the first thing you think of?
First thing I think of is buckets, man. Just from the scoring ability and all that. I mean, you also have also polarizing is another word that also uses that. Like, I feel like everyone's got really strong opinions on Kobe Bryant. One of the first players that I really kind of watched to kind of, learn the game of basketball, and then just kind of seeing how I've matured, like looking at kind of how his career, kind of like how that story kind of has played out. So I was really excited to kind of be that guy today for you guys.
I think that's the best part about it, Carl, is that you brought it up. Very polarizing. And I think we all can agree, insanely talented. I think the three of us are of the same mind that this guy is, without a doubt, one of the best players in the league. Adam, we have him in what we classify in our, what was it, the Galaxy Opal tier, which is our 11 through 18. And without a doubt, he belongs within that tier of guys. And you're going to hear us and you're like, wait, I'm sorry, 11 through 18? Yeah, we said it. This is one of the best guys to ever play the game. In the 2000s, he was probably the best player in a few of the years there. That being said, we do believe that there is some inconsistencies with people who love Kobe to the max and put him in his top 3, in your top 3. That being said, we also realize we have faults because some of us have rivalries against this guy, said Spurs and Celtics in our lives. So whenever I think of Kobe for the first time, I think of whenever I watched the '08 finals, and I think of my dad looking at me and yelling "ball hog." And I don't know if and that was, I think the term was then given to me in that moment in 2008 as a 9 or 10-year-old. I'm sure I've heard it before, but I've never heard a professional athlete be called a ball hog. But that being said, insanely talented, very good player. Adam, what about you?
To me, obsession is the word that I think of. Is just like, this is a guy who is obsessed with the game of basketball and like all of its facets, and like, learned so much from Michael Jordan. It's like, people use the phrase all the time, and I think to a fault sometimes, but he's the closest thing we've seen to Jordan, right? Like, and I think what they mean by that is stylistically, right? He's the closest we've seen to Jordan, and that's very much true. Down to the point where, I mean, I'm sure we'll talk about it when we talk about one of these games. Even the way he answered questions earlier in his career, he's trying to sound like Michael Jordan. Like, it's so clearly like this, like, he calls it the game of basketball like Michael Jordan, did all the time, and just this cadence that he tried to kind of adopt. He is an endlessly fascinating figure to me. Like, I love talking and thinking about Kobe Bryant. I loved watching him play. He drove my team crazy sometimes, right? The teams that, I rooted for, right? San Antonio, he both, killed the Spurs at times and then, hurt the Lakers at times and allowed the Spurs to win some series. So it was like this give and take. He's just like this absolutely fascinating character in the league's history. You cannot tell the history of the league without Kobe Bryant. He is a massive figure. He's one of the 3 most popular players in the history of the league. I think there's no doubt about that. I think those 3, you put him with LeBron and MJ as like the 3 most popular players to ever play the game. And if we're measuring impact and popularity and the way he inspires kind of other generations of players, if that was what we were measuring, this is a Mount Rushmore player. But the way kind of Mitch and I have done our list is like, it was kind of like a stripped down, just strictly on court value, kind of remove all the outside things and just kind of on court value. And when you really study the league's history, you learn about how good some players, were in the past. And really you watch and you do these film studies. And I think that's why we have him in that kind of 11 to 18 tier. Like, I think people who are massive Kobe fans are going to hear that and probably just turn this off. And that's okay. I mean, I think that's sad, but that's okay.
You made it in 5 minutes.
He's in this weird space where it's like, if you don't think he's one of the 3 best players, you're a hater. And it's like, man, I feel completely opposite of that. Like, I love Kobe Bryant. Like, he played for Team USA. Like, I rooted for this guy. I wanted him to win gold medals. I've got behind me multiple Kobe Bryant jerseys. I've got Kobe Bryant shoes, right? Like, I took inspiration from his game, but I also can step back and say, okay, but there are some flaws, and there's some other players who maybe, if I'm trying to win a championship, I'd take their careers a little bit ahead of him. Like, so what we have is the 11th best player of all time. Like, that's not like us hating. So I really hope people can hear this conversation kind of in good faith and understand that this is coming, like, in all these conversations we have about these players, they're coming from a place of respect. Like, we're going to do these episodes not to bash players, because these are all the top 50 players that have ever played the game, right? And this guy is one of the top, 15 at worst, players that have ever played the game. So this is I hope this episode honors Kobe, and kind of his basketball ability. But I do think it's we should talk about why do we not have him exactly in that top kind of 3 to 4 tier? I think that's very fair. So, Carl, I think you probably are the biggest Kobe fan amongst the 3 of us. Is that fair to say?
Yeah, definitely fair to say.
Okay.
Really giant Kobe fan. I mean,
Okay, cool.
there's pictures of me as a child with as almost as young as I could be with the 8 jersey on. When he had the 24, I always got all the Kobe stuff. Went to the Kobe camp as a kid. That was pretty cool.
Nice.
So just Kobe, big Kobe guy.
And, okay, remind me, what year were both of y'all born? Y'all born the same year?
98.
Okay.
He was.
Okay,
I think
perfect.
Carl was 97.
Okay, yeah, 97.
So that is yes. I mean, obviously, you're coming of age in his just the smack middle of his prime. So it's that's a perfect kind of time. I'm obviously a bit older than both of y'all. I was born in 1990, and so I saw the entire thing, and was lucky enough to have season tickets in San Antonio, and my dad's company did. I saw him play in person, many times. 2 different times, Carl. You'll appreciate this. Our seats were kind of close to where the visiting team leaves, the tunnel. And so I'd kind of yell at players on the bench when I was younger and kind of point to the tunnel and ask for their headbands, their armbands or whatever. And so 2 different times I got Kobe's armband, he took it off his elbow and I got it. And then one time they had killed the Spurs. It was a 25, 30 point blowout. And so he was in his full kind of long sleeve warm up at the end of the game. He wasn't obviously in the game at the end. And so as he's walking off the court, he couldn't really get to his his armband. So I was man, what am I going to get? But he had a towel over his shoulder. So I asked him for his towel, but he didn't really respond. And so as he's walking by, I reached my hand kind of through the little rails of the tunnel, and I pulled it off of his shoulder. And he turned and looked at me, and I thought he was going to kill me. And then I think he realized it was a young kid, and I was just oh, this is awesome. And he realized how happy I was, and he kind of just smirked and just shrugged and just kept walking. I was let's go. So I have Kobe's towel and 2 of his armbands kind of hanging in a spot in my other room here, But yeah, I mean, this was a dude who just when he was in town, I was I got to go see this guy play. I have to see whether the team was good or not, right? Because there were some bad Lakers teams at one point in his career, but I just have to see this guy play in person because it's so fascinating. And there's so many Kobe fans around. It just creates this really interesting atmosphere.
Carl, I wanted to ask you this because I don't think there's anyone in the world, who we all would say when we have a balled up piece of paper and we throw it in the trash can, we don't say anyone else's name. We might say Kareem if you're doing a hook shot, but no one else. I think everyone else says Kobe, and I think Adam, you talked about it, the social impact that he had on our generation, Carl and I's generation. What do you think it was, Carl? Do you think it was just because he was our generation's emulation of MJ, or was it just this is what every kid believed good work ethic looked like? What do you think it was for our generation, our years, to fall in love with Kobe?
So, the love of Kobe was mostly, it's kind of a perfect combination, a perfect storm of a couple different things. You have, number one, the talent level, how that it's within itself emulated Michael Jordan, because, that's the big chase that the NBA always has, is who's going to be this person to kind of chase after this guy that we've had. They've been pushing that ever since Michael Jordan, stopped playing basketball.
Right.
So he was one of the guys that you saw in that forefront, the electricity he had, winning dunk contests early, being one of the youngest players in the league, as excited as he was. But then on top of that, it's magnified by him being the player in LA pretty much for his entire career. So that's the other thing that I think that really got it, is because the way that things were kind of pushed. If you look at the way the way media was pushed like during like us coming up. It's like we were seeing like what was getting pushed, like probably mostly like Sports Center mornings, things like that, and
Yep.
they made sure that the Lakers were on your television no matter what, through the even through the terrible years. Like one of the best moments in ESPN history is related to the Pau Gasol trade, which was to beef up that Kobe Bryant team. Like,
God.
and that, yeah, and like not even about anything on the floor at that point. It was about Kwame Brown being gone. Shout out to my Wizards connection there. But like, it's like it was pushed so heavily with it being LA, but then he also had the talent to kind of back up that level of that level of, let's say, like I think it's kind of like that grandiose like media push recognition. Yeah.
Yeah, he absolutely backed it up, and I think that's the thing is like he was kind of built up to be this like, and especially just when you guys were like really coming of age, like this is kind of post Colorado and all that stuff, which we need to mention at some point. Like it that I think you guys were able to kind of like miss that because that happened at such a young. So like you're seeing the kind of the Black Mamba number 24 kind of like that push, like that half, and like signing with Nike and obviously the shoe brand, like that stretch from kind of like '06, I'll say on. He's like the best marketed player ever. Like it's like they nailed that, right? Like the kind of creating the nickname, all that stuff, like emphasizing the hard work and like the kind of like almost like the soloist, this everything else be damned, but like I'm gonna do this, and like I think that resonated with so many people, and it's like, hey, I may be going through all these things, but like I can have this like Mamba mentality, and I can get there too. Like I get that. Some of it is a little bit like kind of like eye rolling to me at times, but like I do understand why that works for so many people, because it's like people need something to kind of look towards. Like, do I think he's like the perfect example to look towards? Probably not, but I do think like I get it. I get why he was so popular. Like, and you go to these games and it's like I went to a game in Dallas. This was maybe his second to last year, and we had a tournament at a school I was coaching at, and we brought the whole team got to go. And there's two kids who had never been to an NBA game. And the Lakers were awful that year. I think it was the year he didn't play that much. They lost by 40. I think they lost by exactly 40. They looked atrocious. Like, it was so bad. He looked bad. It was just like clearly end of the career, like just not, nowhere near the player. But every time he got the ball, the like shrieks from like the kind of Kobe, like almost like this one last, I want to see this player kind of this one last time in my life. Like, it was really like eye opening. It's like, man, I don't think I quite realized the level like these people just like love this guy. Like, he means so much to people. And that's like both, a gift and a curse, right? Because like, yeah, I don't know. Like it's like you don't even see the flaws. You just like love this thing so much. I mean, anytime he scores, like the place would just go crazy. I almost like liken it to what we're watching we're recording this kind of towards middle part of the World Cup here, with like what Cristiano Ronaldo is going through right now, where it's like he's clearly not the player he once was, but he still has these flashes where you're like, and the fans just want it so badly that they're like willing it into existence. Like, I want to see this like ultimate soloist and showman and guy who is marketed up to this level and has for the most part in his career, like backed it up. I think like they're very similar, actually, those two, and that's a whole nother discussion. But that's a big part of it. So I think you're right. It's like this is the guy that's put on this pedestal, and he actually does deliver the majority of the time. So it's like that's pretty cool. I mean, that's pretty powerful.
It is. It's impressive just how much I think our generation, Adam, you're included in this too, is just like we associate a lot of our early life. I mean, just because of where we've grown up, but like, I mean, when we've grown up, but like a lot of our early basketball memories to Kobe, just because of because the Lakers were really good at the early 2000s when me and Carl were very like young still. And then as we got older, it was like, hey, we're middle school, like early high school. Oh, the Lakers are back in the finals again. And it's like they're competitive. Oh, and add on the fact that it's Celtics Lakers twice within the 3 years there. And then you were just revitalizing that rivalry. I think that was the key. And that's what made like the name and the recognition of Kobe just get so much brighter, was the fact that we talk about him trying to emulate Michael, only other three-peats since Michael, and in the early 2000s, and then also the only other guy to win as many titles as Michael. I mean, as he has had, I think he has the most titles since Michael at this point at 5.
I mean, Ori, you can kind of, yeah.
Well, you know what, Robert Ory's 2.
Yeah.
Son of a bitch. He is I know Robert Ory has the most finals wins, not non-Celtic. Congratulations. But But my point still being, it is just like one of those things where we have so much within that 2000 to 2010 have been tied of like our NBA life is like tied to this one guy, and he was in the finals for so many times of that, and like so we just see him a lot. It definitely plays with you a lot, and so it's very impressive just what he was able to do during his career. And like you said, Adam, even with the outside noise, even with everything that was going on, even with battling with Shaq in those early Lakers years too, and then really having to fight his way to get Pau Gasol and Andrew Bynum to like finally get him to a title. Also, Derek Fisher finally, really doing what he does best and pissing Adam off the entire time while he's playing.
Fisher's also got 5. We gotta throw him out there. But
well, yeah. But here's the other thing too, Adam. I'm very shocked at you that you wanted to watch a good Derek Fisher game, which I want to shift into that now. So, like we did for Anatomy of a Franchise, we chose games to emulate, like to kind of describe this player's career. Not 10 or 15. We did 5. Yep. Much smaller number for a player. And we're doing, like we did for Anatomy of a Franchise, we would do a games breakdown. However, for a player, we're just combining it all into one, as it should be. And so, Adam, I'm going to have you give us the 5 games that we chose for this player, and then we're going to break down to the 2 games that we chose to break into, and we will answer a few questions for these games, and then we'll just wrap this thing up. But give us the 5 games that we chose to describe Kobe Bryant's career.
Yeah, so, and just to be clear for everybody, so on Anatomy of a Franchise, we had different amounts of games based on the franchise. Obviously, the Lakers had more games we chose from than others. But for the players, we're doing 5 for every player. So just so everybody's kind of on the same level playing field. So the 5 games we chose to represent Kobe Bryant's career. And again, it's not his 5 best games. I want everybody to be clear. These are not the 5 best games. It's the 5 games that represent his career, for better or worse.
Correct.
First one, 2001 Western Conference Semifinals Game 4. Sacramento Kings at Los Angeles Lakers. We'll talk about that one in more depth. That's one of the 2 that we watched in full. 2004 NBA Finals Game 4, Lakers at Pistons. This is obviously a tough one. This is probably his worst playoff series, at least high leverage playoff series when he was in his prime. Just straight up plays poorly, and the Lakers lose largely because of that and a couple other factors. But this kind of represents the peaks and valleys portion of his career, and I think that this series kind of represents that. 2008 Western Conference First Round Game 2 against the Nuggets. This is just a masterpiece performance. He's just ridiculous in this game. Just total every single facet of the game. He's just dominating because I think Carl, you said it. Scoring is kind of the first thing you think of. This is one of those games where he shows every piece of his game, not just the scoring. The second game that we're going to watch in full, 2010 Western Conference Finals Game 6, Lakers at Suns. This is obviously they go. We'll talk about that more in depth in a second because we're gonna do that one in full. And then the last one, 2012-2013 regular season. This is on April 12th, 2013, Golden State Warriors at Los Angeles Lakers. This is the first year of Steph Curry's real brilliance. Crazy game. This is the stretch where Kobe is playing just like ridiculous minutes. Mike D'Antoni's the coach. They had signed Dwight Howard earlier in the year, before the season. It did not work the way they thought it was going to. And he's just trying to will them to the playoffs. And I think this game is like almost the most Kobe game. Like I see Carl shaking his head because it's like he is like stopping at nothing to try to get this team to the playoffs. Again, for better or worse, so much so that he's playing through injuries and he ends up tearing his Achilles at the end of this game. The Lakers actually still won the game. The Warriors did finish ahead of them in the standings and went on to, obviously greatness over the next few years, where this is basically the last meaningful game of Kobe Bryant's career. He does not play another meaningful basketball game after this. He's on the team for 3 more seasons, but due to injury and just the team being really bad, he doesn't play another meaningful game. And he's great in this game. He's just so good still in this game. But it's like you can just see it. It's like, man, this does not seem sustainable. And then sure enough, tears his Achilles, shoots the free throws, walks off the court. That's kind of a big moment that people cling to. And a show of toughness, of course. But yeah, this one's just fascinating. I almost there's a little part of me that's like, man, I wish we would have watched that one too. But that's a pretty fascinating game. So those are the 5 that represent Kobe.
Carl, I think one thing you're going to hear Kobe fans say is, but Adam, where's the 60-point final game? Why doesn't that make the list? Like, do you agree that this is the 5 that really describe Kobe, or does that game you think should be in this list in your mind?
So I'm glad that we didn't go for, for one, his high scoring game and some of the other games that we could have probably picked from this, because it's more of trying, you said earlier, like it's trying to encompass like who he was as a player and kind of what that game means at that time.
Correct.
And we've had the conversation before, especially about, some record that, or not even record, some milestone that was, passed in some Wizards game. I don't know what we're talking about. In some Wizards game this year. Just from, just kind of the circumstances of where, like, that is, yes, like, his best individual performance, but, like, there's so much more to understanding Kobe Bryant as a basketball player than just that. Again, we're still talking about it right now, that we don't necessarily really need to, kind of break down that entire game to kind of figure, to really tell the story of him as a player.
I agree. And I think that's so well put. I think, the two games we're gonna break down fully with the 01 and 2010 game. I think Adam chose correctly with these, because that 01 game, before, just to preface it, I had never watched that game before today, and that, Adam, is a Kobe masterpiece.
Yeah,
both getting to the line, but also just creating a lot of offense with a Shaq who was kind of not helpful in moments. But Adam, why don't we go into game one? Why don't we get into this first game? Break it down for us. Tell us how we got here to game one or game four, actually, of this first round series.
Yeah, so I think for these, we'll do something just a tad different. We'll kind of talk about maybe where the player was at the time, and also kind of how the game, rather than just hey, here's how we got here. So where was Kobe in 2001? Who was Kobe in 2001? He was fifth. It was his fifth season. That year, he had made both his third All-Star and his third All-NBA team. He had finished ninth in MVP voting. It was his first year of his career where his scoring took a big uptick. So it went from 22.5 to 28.5 in this 01 season. And to me, I count 01 as kind of his first peak. I think even in 2000, he's still a really good player, but like kind of all-star level player. And this is where he jumps to like clear, kind of like a top 10, top 5 to 10 player in the league, clearly at this point. He was clearly improving and probably would have been first team All-NBA if not for the 14 games that he had missed during that regular season. Part of those games where he missed, Shaq had missed some time early in the year, and this is the year that the Shaq and Kobe feud really started, right? They win the title in 2000. Yep. Pat Riley has always talked about, protecting against the disease of me or disease of more, as some people call it. Where the year after the title, everybody kind of thinks they deserve more things. And Kobe was in the perfect age where he's like, I actually do deserve more things. And he was actually right. Shaq does the whole like, hey, I got hurt on company time. I'm going to recover on company time. And, he comes into camp a little bit out of shape. And Phil Jackson had told him to take his time and don't worry about being in shape to start the season. They need him for the stretch. And Shaq took that and ran with it. So it created this feud, right, where it's like Kobe's like, hey, I'm ready for more. I'm ready for more, ready for more. And Shaq was kind of like, throttling back a bit. So the team struggled a little bit in the regular season. They go 56-26. They did win the last 8 games of the regular season to get to that record, gain the number 2 seed behind the San Antonio Spurs. They comfortably swept the Blazers in the first round, which set up this second round matchup against the Kings. Lakers won the first 2 games in LA behind Shaq's dominance. Like Shaq in game 1 is like, man, I told Mitch this before. I accidentally downloaded that one for my flight and stuff when I was kind of going to some World Cup games last week. And I ended up just watching it because I got stuck in an airport. So I actually watched game 1 and 4 of the series. And yeah, Shaq is just like overwhelming in that game. It's crazy. But Shaq's brilliance kind of gets in the 2-0 lead. And then Kobe was awesome in game 3. They get a 3-0 lead against this Kings team. So that sets up this game 4, which we watched, which was an NBC broadcast with a classic combo of Marv Albert and Doug Collins on the call.
First off, you said 3-0. I need us to really clear that up. I understand we were recording this in the height of World Cup, like knockout stages just started. But come on now. It is. We lucked out here with a great first broadcast crew with Marv and Doug Collins. Because guess what, ladies and gentlemen, we brought back some of the categories, and one of them is the Marv Albert non-basketball moment of the game. Let's be completely honest here, though. This is a early Kobe masterpiece because at this point, Adam, and maybe Carl, you can answer this too. Is this Kobe's best game in his career at this point?
I mean, at this point, yeah. I mean, like as Adam said, like this is like really the emergence, and then it's kind of also very poetic in the fact that where it's like Shaq had this dominance in the first 2 games, and then you have Kobe really kind of closing this one out. Mm-hmm. Where it also kind of was that metaphor of like, hey, it's like the Lakers are like they're me now. Like this is who it is. Like getting it, closing this game out. I'd say definitely his best game that he's had up to this point.
I agree. And
It actually is his highest playoff game score of his career. This game.
really, well,
Yep.
you know what? Good for him. Okay, because here's the thing. First category we're going to go into is, and for each game we're going to have 2 categories that go for each game, and then we're going to have 3 that kind of all encompass the player himself.
Yeah. Yep.
And the first one we go through is what sequence of the game sums up this player. So what sequence of the game sums up Kobe? And I'm not kidding. It is the midway through the first quarter, bucket after bucket, and it ending, in my mind, it's the Divac dunk when he dunks all over Vlade Divac, and it's so good. Carl, am I stealing your thing right now? And I apologize. You are muted, and I hate to do this to you, but I'm gonna then you run with it. You run with it first.
Oh, it's a great moment. Yeah, it's a great moment.
Talk to me about this stretch in the first quarter, Carl. To you, what does it show to you about Kobe?
Well, there's more of the, like, when we talk a little bit about, like, he really wasn't Mamba mentality yet, but, like, that relentlessness that he consistently preaches, where it's like, I'm already pouring it on, and then it's like, hey, I'm gonna go cut the head of the snake here, defensively, at least for you guys, like, just like the demoralization of, like, I'm gonna go try to get the biggest guy, and there's nothing you can do to stop me. Like, that's what this entire stretch felt like. Is like, that was just the punctuation of like I'm here. There is literally no one on this floor that can do anything with me. Like, and there's just, it's like a perfect moment of just that announcement.
Well, and Adam, like, people will go back to the fourth quarter, which he has more points in the fourth quarter. Don't get me wrong, but it's this first quarter. It's how he punctuates the start of the game. It's like we're talking in Spanish now because we had to put the exclamation point at the first part of the sentence and at the end of the sentence, because that's how good this game was from him, and he shows that in this first quarter, scoring the first 2 buckets, takes a break, and then he's like, "Hey, let me go score a few more here." It is spectacular, just this first quarter he has, and like Carl says, I mean, he hunts the big man, and I think that's what's great. What do you think was the sequence that sums them up the most?
I had that stretch written, but I had a feeling someone would take that, so I actually moved to the fourth quarter, where it's kind of the explosion that gets him up to that kind of 48 points. And he hits that one jumper and does the famous blowing on the fingers. That's just like I did that as a kid. Like this to me was like when I was I loved Kobe at this time. This kind of 01 Kobe this kind of 2000, 2001, right in that little stretch there was man, I was at the perfect age. I had the Kobe jerseys that, I had a basketball that just had his name on it. And I was this was peak. And I'm going outside practicing the moves, right? And again, I'm young. I'm old enough, not young enough, old enough that I saw Jordan play a lot too. So I'm copying those as well. So it's oh, this is the next guy. This is the next, Jordan type player. Maybe not necessarily quite as good, but he moves like him, he plays like him. I can copy these moves. I can learn this footwork. That was really cool. And I had this chain net that I would shoot on, and I'm convinced that's how I got good, because I love the sound of the chain net, and so I would just kind of practice all these moves, and just constantly just shoot. So, this is a game I remember watching and trying to go outside and then and then copy some of the moves, and then we would lower the hoop, me and my friends, and we'd try to do the same dunks and stuff like that, and it's that's just what we did, We do pool basketball, and we try to do the same things, but yeah, the fourth quarter and then the blowing the fingers, we would all copy that. If we were feeling it in a practice or a scrimmage like that, we would just blowing your fingers like that. That was just so cool to us. So that was the moment that stood out. And it was a great nostalgic kick for me, for sure.
Adam, we were both short kings compared to Carl, and so I think we Carl, because how tall are you? How tall are you? You're 6'2"?
I'm 6'1".
Okay. Oh, okay. Well, you're still taller than both of us.
Yes.
But it's still one of those things where we are very much. I don't know why I thought you're. You know what? I've never met you in person, and I immediately just think 6'2" for Carl Baltimore.
Y'all have never met in person? That's news to me.
This is totally different thing. Might be changing that this summer. I hadn't met Austin till March. I might be meeting Carl this summer. It's great times for Mitchell Sell. Yeah. Knocking people off the bucket list. But it's one of those things. It's Kobe for us. I mean, honestly, 6'3" and shorter. It's one of those guys that we're hey, we can do these things shot wise, but we have to lower the rim at least a whole foot if we want to try to emulate what he can do with his athleticism, especially at this point in his career. My little Tykes basketball hoop, whenever I was 8, was getting a workout for me. I'm not going to lie to you, and trying to show off what Kobe was doing. Carl, I think this fourth quarter is incredible too from Kobe, with how well he can create everything. It felt seamless in this fourth quarter, don't you think, Carl? Whatever you watched him play.
Yeah, I mean, Siem's creation. I think the one thing to note about the way Kobe Bryant does create, because I know we all talk about. I mean, you said the word first, Mitch. Your dad used to say
The B word.
What was it?
The B word.
Yeah, exactly. So you kind of actually get to see where it's like his passing when he did kind of have these games where it's like, oh, like he has this ability to kind of get the ball, like to get the ball kind of wherever he wants. Like this is the type of game that makes you kind of realize, like looking back on it, where it's like, man, like there was kind of like either whether it was like, roster construction in like later years where it's like, man, like if he kind of had like a little bit more of his passing being like like it was more of like a I can't score, so here's an assist type of passing, if that makes sense.
Yes.
More so than it's like here's like, oh, like in the offense, like I mean, because the offense was designed for pretty much him or Shaq to shoot the ball, every single time. But like it's just like you see the ability of like how he's able to get the ball to people, and it almost kind of leaves me wondering, like, what if like that was played upon more in his career, like what we kind of have left on the table, because like his ability to like read defenses, like especially like understanding like where help's coming from, but it's just there's so many times where it's like he can still score, he works on that shot, he does it, but like that stretch, like and there's certain stretches where like you'll see passes he makes and you're like, wow, like there is a whole level of his game that like we just never really either. I don't know if it's like developed or if it's like kind of mentally from what the game was, like just we never really could fully enjoy because he had it. It just never really was on display like that.
Okay.
Yeah.
I'm so glad you said that. Sorry, Mitch. I got to take this to run because that is to me the only thing that keeps him from being like a top 5 player to me. It's like his greatest gift is like the greatest curse. It's like classic. It's why he's so fascinating. It's like he had it. He actually did have it. He was brilliant. He was such a brilliant passer and thinker about basketball. But it's like, man, he just couldn't quite the decision making compared to like the very, very, very best players, the 3 or 4 best players of all time. It just was like a hair off. Like there's just like something just. It's like there's more, like you said, more on the table. There was a little bit more there, and I think he thinks like he got the most out of his own abilities, and I think that's true. But I think he chose a team sport, right? So I have to approach it like a team sport. I feel like if he would have been a tennis player, he'd have been the greatest tennis player of all time. If he'd have been a golfer, he'd have been the greatest golfer of all time. But he was just barely missing. I think he got it more later in his career, but early in his career, if he actually like used all the skills that he had, I feel like that Lakers team would have been like unguardable. Like I just don't know what you would have done. I mean, they kind of were anyway, but they would have been, their offenses would have been like completely unstoppable. But it's like that's the piece. I think the decision making and the kind of like the how to modulate. Okay, when is it my time? And I think it's the thing that people lionize him for. The like shoot over 2 guys into double teams. Like, oh, how sick was that? Like hit that tough jumper on the baseline over 2 guys. It looks really cool when it goes in, but for a team game where you're trying to get the most efficient shots over and over and over and over and over, he was just a hair behind some of those all-time greatest kind of players and decision makers. And I think that's the thing that keeps him just out of that for me. And I think it actually hurt his teams. I think that's why, because it's like it actually hurt his team's offense. This version of Kobe though, like I think people sometimes underrate how good of an athlete he was. Like they think of the later versions, right? The ones that you guys watched later in his career, and it's like, oh man, it's all footwork and just guile and just smarts and stuff like that. And it's like when he was younger, this dude was a freak. Like some of these plays, you're just like, he is flying to the rim. Like this is, I think how good of an athlete he was early in his career is actually become underrated. I almost think people view like extreme athleticism as like a reason to ding a player. Like, oh, he's just a freak. Like that's the only reason he's just a freak. But I disagree with that. I think like it's spectacular to watch this version of Kobe and how relentlessly he was at getting to the line. They just couldn't do anything with him. I mean, he shoots 19 free throws in this game, and they're all just like, because they just have no choice. Like, I just hit the foul him, or he's going to get a dunk. Like, there's just nothing else they can do. So that to me, it's not the pump, fake, and bump. Like he's not really doing much of that in this game. It's a lot of just at the rim. They can't stop him, so they just have to foul him. It's like, yeah, it's crazy to watch. It's like when you watch like your mind, the last thing you remember is this older version of him, and then you watch this version, it's like, geez, man, he was so fast. Yeah, I thought it was really fun to watch that version of him.
I agree. It is a different mold than we watched later on in 2010.
Yes.
And so we'll get to that one later. But Next question, though, and Adam, I'm sad that we really don't have enough time to talk about your guy Derek Fisher, who honestly had a pretty good game in this.
He did. He did.
I hate to say it to you, man. But
well, he's not a bad player. I've never said that. He's a solid player.
Yes, I know. Yes, yeah. I'm well aware. You just hate him.
I do.
It's like the one player Adam hates, Derek Fisher. But the Marv Albert non-basketball moment of the game, Carl, I'm going to kick it to you because you said you had one, and I don't want to steal it from you. What was your moment that you had picked out for this game?
So, I mean, it's still like basketball related, but it's the kind of banter that Marv Albert has when they're talking about Chris Webber's situation, getting ready to go in the offseason. So to switch sports just for a little bit, like it reminded me of like watching the home run derby when like Juan Soto was like they were talking about him getting traded. Like it's like this is a moment for my team where it's like where it's like, okay, like I don't really want to hear this right now. I know that we're probably going to lose this. Like if you're a Kings fan, you're probably like, we're probably going to lose this game, like just off of the way the series is going anyway. And it's like, I don't really want to hear this in the middle of this game right now. And it's like, and he talks about like, I think he talks specifically about his about Chris Webber's response where it's like a very like PRE, but he's like, yeah, pretty much like he wants to leave after this like type of thing. And it's just like just for what the game like kind of means for like the Kings and like their fans, like just how demoralizing that would be. And of course I go to negative moments because that's what I've experienced.
That's completely fair. Completely fair. I'm going to stick to Adam. I'm going to cut real quick here because mine's a Chris Webber moment. It's when Kobe literally pulls him aside and he's like, hey, don't go get a second technical.
Yes.
I want you to be in this game. And I think that's the thing. And I think that's the Kobe mentality right there of like, hey, I want to play the best and beat the best. And Chris Webber at the time was the best King on that team, either him or Peja, whoever you want to put up there. But Chris Webber is clearly in his own head for a multitude of reasons. And in this game, you could see it was going to erupt. And Kobe almost teammate-like is like, hey, stay with me and get your butt kicked.
Yep. I actually thought that was really cool. I know the Kobe thing. He's known for just like, man, he'd cut the head off his grandma, just like that kind of like over the top, like talk about him. I actually thought that was really cool to see this side of him too, because like he actually has like a real sense of humor and a real sense of like the moment. And like, no, bro, like I actually want you on the court. Like this is competition. Like I want this to be like, like you said, like the best players on the court. Like that's so much more fun. Yeah, it's a bad Chris Webber game. My note about this category was all of the Chris Webber talk, like just all of it. Like, there's so much of it. And how about the weird interview with his dad? Like that was strange, right? Like in the middle of the game. Like you're right, Carl. It's like this is game 4 of the second round of the playoffs. Like this is a great team who's on this historical run. They've won the last 8 games of the regular season. They've won the first 6 games at that time because the first round was best of 3. The first 6 games of the playoffs. They're on a 14-game winning streak in the playoffs. They're in the playoffs, and it's like, oh, we got to talk about Chris Webber. And then he ends up not leaving. He actually signed a long-term deal with the Kings, and he's on the team for a few more years. Like all that talk was like, I can't believe how much they're harping on this. I had forgotten that for sure. That was just bizarre.
So dumb.
Yep.
Okay. Anything else about this game? We should just probably say the Lakers won.
They
go on to win the game, go on to win the series, and go on to win the finals. Only losing one playoff game the entire playoff run. Yep. And it's game 1 to Allen Iverson in the NBA Finals and
the step over game. Yeah.
Step over game, yes.
Can I give Kobe's final line real quick? I feel like we should do that, yes.
Probably should do that because it's spectacular.
48 points, 15 of 29.
Nothing easy there.
Yeah, 15 of 29 shooting, 1 of 1 from 3, 17 of 19 from the line, 16 rebounds. That's another thing too, the athleticism, right? It's like he's just skying above like 3 and 4 guys to get some of these rebounds. 3 assists, 2 steals, and a block. Just a pretty spectacular game. Like we said, this is his highest. So Basketball Reference has a pretty cool game score for each game, and like a super high one is like in the 30 and above. This is Kobe's highest game score of his playoff career. So pretty awesome. But yeah, he's great in this game. They win the series and they go on to win the title.
Kind of spectacular. I don't want to do the 2010 game because I know what it leads to, and it brings me a lot of pain and hurt. And of course, the guy who is Kobe's running mate in 2010 and is probably the better player in this second game that we're going to break down. I apologize. Carl says no to that one. He has a great game, but Meta World Peace breaking my heart once again here. Let's fast forward to 2010 Fast forward 9 years. Let's go to a team like the Spurs. The Suns have played them, and the Kings. Those 3 teams have played the Lakers so many times in the playoffs in the 2000s, Adam, and it felt like this was a real chance for the Suns to just break through, finally make a finals. And then this game happens. You're like, hey, this is your final shot. Can you hold on? And Game 6, 2010 Western Conference Finals happens. Tell us how we got here.
Yes. So Lakers came into the playoffs as defending NBA champions, obviously won in 2009 over the Orlando Magic in the finals. They had a 57-27 record, good for the number 1 seed in the West again. They beat the up-and-coming Thunder in the first round in 6 tough games. That was a really fun series, actually. They swept the Jazz in the second round, and then were up 3-2 in the Western Conference Finals on this Phoenix team, thanks to a crazy Game 5 that saw Ron Artest tip in Kobe's airball at the buzzer of Game 5 to win after a Jason Richardson bank on the other end. That's an amazing game. That's not a great Kobe game, so we didn't choose it for this, but if you just want to watch a really fun playoff game, Game 5 of this series is well worth the watch. This is a TNT broadcast with Marv Albert and Doug Collins on the call. The exact same 2 guys. Just so awesome that we got them twice, but it's on a different network this time. So it's a TNT broadcast, obviously, Western Conference Finals. And where's Kobe? Where's Kobe in 2010? So this is obviously 9 years later from where the game we just talked about. A lot has happened in those 9 years. So we obviously have another championship in 2002, them losing to the Spurs in 2003, kind of falling short of the potential 4-peat, losing in the finals in 2004. Obviously, the Colorado incident and the trial kind of all throughout the 03-04 season. And I do think, like, I mean, yeah, I hate to do this whole, like, oh, I'm older than you guys. But, like, that, because of when that hit maybe in my life and just, like, everybody around me at that age, that was a huge deal. And that was a real, like, oh, like, this guy should not be a role model moment. Like, this is really dark. And it was really dark. Let's be honest. Like, that's it was like there's a lot of people who went from like, man, I love Kobe to, ooh, I better not wear that jersey anymore. Like that really happened. Like, and that was a big deal. That was kind of like a demarcation. And then he obviously had to go through a whole bunch of changes and he adopted the Mamba mentality nickname and all of that stuff. But yeah, that 04 thing is a real kind of turning point. Obviously Shaq gets traded that same summer, and the team changes, right? They missed the playoffs in 05, first round knockout in 06 and 07. And then the Pau Gasol trade, like we talked about, right? That happens, 3 straight finals, right? They immediately, he gets a Hall of Fame player back on his team, immediately knows how to use him, 3 straight finals. Pau's great, super underrated player. And yeah, here they are, back at the top of the league. And I think I almost think those 08 to 10 Lakers teams are a smidge underrated for the depth of talent that they had. Like, they had a lot of matchup problems for a lot of teams. But that's kind of where he was, right? He's MVP in 2008. Wins the gold medal with Team USA in 2008. He finally joins Team USA in 2007 for the FIBA Americas Championship. Him and LeBron team up to just be dominant over the next couple Olympics, and they he wins 2 gold medals, but 08's the first one. So this is Kobe, just beyond probably the very peak of his powers, but still at the absolute apex of the game, and just the most popular player in the league and one of the most popular athletes in the world at this time. So that's kind of where he was in 2010.
Reigning champ against the Magic in the year before too, and I think that'll be forever one of the. And this is the 3rd straight finals he'll be playing in, and after this game, losing in 08 to the Celtics, and then the year before this in 09. I mean, one of his better finals. Him and Gasol were ridiculous. Gasol not good in this game, and that hurt my heart a lot. But let's get into it. Carl, I'm going to start with you because I started last time. You're starting this time. Give me your favorite sequence from this game, from this 2010 game. What sequence most emulated who Kobe was in this game?
Oh, okay. So mine's like specifically a shot. So pretty much down. I think it's there's probably about 35, 34 seconds left in this game. I believe
Kobe right here. Do you want me to give you the exact measurement? Yeah, so it's one. I know exactly what player you're going to talk about. It is 105, 100. And it's are you talking about the right wing jumper? Yeah. Okay. Yeah. So he hits
the right wing jumper. Yeah.
You're almost spot on. Yeah. 34.2 left is when he makes it, and it makes it 107, 100.
Yeah, and it's over. I think it's over Grant Hill. Over Grant Hill, like kind of just that double pump. So the reason that was a big sequence for me, you talk about explaining Kobe Bryant as a player. As someone who's a big fan of his, I also feel like like especially when we start hearing like the clutch stats and all that, and like we always have those conversations about all the time, is that that was an example of, I guess, the clutch that I feel like most casual basketball fans like don't really truly understand. Where it's like you're trying to you're trying to halt the team from trying to fight kind of back into a game late. It's like it's not really like a buzzer beater. Like it's not really like any of those things. But it's like one, it's the level of the shot, the difficulty of the shot, which fully explains the Kobe Bryant experience. Just it being like that, like kind of like double pump, like fall away, like that's the thing you're gonna see, like kids trying to emulate in the park, like though, like that is like a quintessential Kobe Bryant shot. The big reason like why I picked that, and then it's also funny because it's when you talk about his legacy as a whole, when you come from like we're talking about things that maybe you've forgotten. It's like the way that they were the way the Suns were able to kind of chip back to get into that game.
Mm-hmm.
And then it's like, well, let's put the cape back. But Kobe has the cape on. Like, so like, don't worry. Like we're fine. Like that type of sequence, like really encompasses like one, his career, the Lakers throughout, like the post Shaq era, where it's like, they got themselves in some situations where it's like, it came down to like, is Kobe going to hit this tough shot like consistently? And it's like that shot like perfectly encapsulates like what happens like when it goes right and just everything from there. So that's my biggest sequence.
I agree. And sometimes for Kobe fans, it is a shot. It is the shot that you remember. It is the toughness or the tough shot making ability. And that, you're absolutely right, Carl. That emulated that's what they think of, is like those kind of shots. And Adam, I mean, leading up to 2010, we would see him make a lot of these, probably purposeful, like in double teams, like when he's getting double teamed in third quarters or whatever it may be. He's taking these tough shots throughout his career. But for it to come up in one of the clutcher moments, which we've talked about offline, like there are very few of these moments in Kobe's career where we've seen him in like playoff moments, where he's making like clutch shots in the playoffs. This is one of the few of them. And this is why we remember who Kobe is because of moments like this. And I think that's a great reminder of that, Carl. And so I like that moment. Adam, what did you have for this?
I had the exact same shot. Yeah, exact same shot. It had to be. It had to be. Well, and it also showed, like we talked about with the Chris Webber incident in the other game, the playful, competitive side of him too, because he pats Alvin Gentry, the Suns coach, like basically on the ass as he like goes by, like because Alvin Gentry's like right there. I mean, obviously he hits the shot. He basically is falling into his lap. Alvin Gentry kind of turns to call time out, and Kobe just kind of pats him like, "Got you, buddy." Like I love that side of Kobe, like that kind of playful, competitive side. That's the fun part of it to me. Like the kind of like overly intense, like I'm biting my jersey, like that never spoke to me as much, but more the kind of like, I'm so good, I know I'm so good, and I'm gonna kind of like wink at you as I know I'm so good. That I love that version of Kobe, right? That to me is like when he's like perfectly modulated, that shot is just ridiculous. I mean, he hits a couple in the fourth quarter that are just like, what? Like he is the best tough shot maker in the history of basketball. Like I no question about it. I mean Kyrie had maybe the variance of shots, but like he didn't do it in like the highest leverage moments all the time. I mean Kobe is the best tough shot maker ever. Again, that's a gift and a curse, because sometimes he would take some that were like, oh, there was a guy just like wide open by the rim, like he could have just could have just dropped it off. But hey, like fair enough, he took this crazy shot. And sometimes it went in and it looked awesome, like it looked really cool when it went in. So it like I understand why it was so popular. But yeah, that shot is just absurd, and he hits a few. He was also an amazing crowd silencer, like having been in so many arenas where like you said, Carl, like a team's going on a run, they're getting back in the game. Like the Suns to start that fourth quarter are like amazing. Like they just like get right back in the game through Dragic and Amari, and they make it because like I think the Lakers are by 21 in the third quarter, and the Suns just kind of chip away and eventually cut it to like 4 at one point. They got it pretty tight. They bring Nash back in the game pretty late, and he just silences them. It's like, okay, like, if we can just get a stop here, it's like, oh wow, we're making him take a tough shot. Wow, he hit it. It's like it's just this ultimate. And they show that one Suns fan, and his head just kind of drops, like into his seat, just like, man, like you got to be kidding me. And he made you feel that for sure. Like, and I think he reveled in that. He loved making fans feel that. Like looking around the arena, like, wow, I just kind of shut all these people up with just like this really difficult jumper. Like that's a pretty cool feeling. That's a pretty cool ability to have.
I completely agree. Real quick, want to shout out our guy Channing Frye, who plays the second most minutes on the Suns in this game, 40 minutes off the bench. Crazy.
Some strange rotation choices from Alvin Gentry in this game.
I wasn't going to bring it up. Alvin Gentry, my man, what are we doing here?
He sat Nash for so long.
So long. Why do you only play 30 minutes?
It's crazy.
It makes no sense. Our guy Barbosa is almost playing 20 minutes, and no offense to Leandro Barbosa, not needing to play 20 minutes in this game.
Yeah.
I want to be different, but I agree with you that the fourth quarter shot is just spectacular. And that would be mine. I'll just mention the first quarter with him in our test. Just I think high scoring affairs usually didn't help Kobe out. I feel like he was his best when he was in a low scoring game, when he could like kind of slow the pace down. But in this first quarter, when they can't miss, it feels like him in our test, it was just special and it was spectacular. So I wanted to shout that out real quick. I also think that we should also talk about the fact that's Lamar Odom went 3 of 12, but that's a whole different thing. Lamar Odom, you talked about the size of the Lakers, Adam. Just the fact that they had Bynum, Gasol, and Odom.
Yeah.
Just that trio to ruin the teams.
Yeah.
Massive team. Okay. Marv Albert, non-basketball moment of the game. Adam, I'm going to kick it to you real quick for this one.
I'm picking Marv himself. Just how good Marv and Doug are on the call. 9 years later, obviously. But like their chemistry is so good. And it again, you just need two guys. You don't need a third person. Like when you have two awesome people, you don't need a third person. These two can handle it. And they bounce off each other perfectly. They joke with each other, but it's also like they're taking the moment seriously. Like when Kobe's hitting these big shots, Marv and Doug are treating it like a big deal. Like it just felt like a big conference finals game. And I thought that was great. I really enjoyed listening to those two. And like that era specifically, I'm 19 years old as this is happening. This is when I'm really first getting into the I am watching every playoff game no matter what kind of mode of my life. And I have such fond memories of kind of this kind of era of basketball. It's not the best of all time, but it's one of my favorites. So that was it. That was it for me. Yeah, how good those two were on the call.
You love this era because your team was also good in the era.
Well, that helps. That helps.
It does help.
Although they were not first round this year. Second round. Actually lost to the Suns.
This is true. I agree with you. Marv and Collins, I wish they would just do it. I wish they would have done it longer together. I wish Collins would have done it longer. I wish
he went back to coaching. He coached the Sixers.
He didn't need to go back to coaching. Doc, Kerr, none of them needed to go back to coaching.
Kerr was so good.
True. Doc, I think Doc now in 2026 is better in media than he will ever be back at coaching. I don't even think he was that good of a coach in 08, but that's on me. Okay. Or in 2010. Carl, we both talked about this before we started recording. We both agreed that there wasn't a crazy basketball moment, but we do agree that this duo of commentators is kind of just a special duo.
Oh yeah, super special. I did think of a solid sequence. I think it was more Collins than Marv, but it's around the time when there's what is it? It's the Sasa Vujicic, Goran Dragic, the contact that he has. There's a point where I think Goran Dragic hits a shot, Vujicic obviously doesn't like it, throws his hands back. I think he hits him a little bit. Dragic sells it, and the entire time there's the kind of it's kind of when I think it's Doug Collins who's the one who's this could be the type of thing that sparks a run, and it exactly was the type of thing that sparked a run. Him understanding. Having the announcers that understand more so just the non basketball things for that can actually kind of get your team kind of riled up and going, because he talked about how the crowd wasn't really in the game until it's very descriptive of what that moment means, and I think that kind of gets lost in the fact that the Suns ended up losing this game, because that was a pivotal moment that kind of it did it got the crowd back, they got loud, and then all of a sudden chip away at this lead, and it's having someone like a Collins and also Marv to understand not just the way the game's going is that they're looking for any moment to kind of share with you hey, this game isn't over, and it wasn't at that point.
I completely agree. That's a great way to put it.
Are y'all aware of the Goran Dragic Sasha Vujicic feud? Do y'all know anything about that?
No.
So they hate each other. They're both from Slovenia. And it got to the point where they couldn't play together in the national team. Dragic was kind of, there was a kind of a him or me type thing, and Slovenia went with Dragic because he was just a much better player. But yeah, it was a huge deal. Those guys like had like a blood feud. They're both from kind of they're almost like I think similar towns. I think they're almost from towns like pretty close to each other, but they absolutely loathed each other, and it came out in this moment in this series. And Dragic's career from here just goes straight up, right? Like he becomes all NBA player a few years later. And Vujicic goes the opposite, but at this time Vujicic is like, hey, I'm on the champs, I'm this kind of rising guy, and they actually would have been a nice backcourt together for Slovenia, but they just couldn't. They like literally couldn't be around each other in the same room. So this was not out of nowhere. This little moment in this game.
Love it. Lakers do go on to win this game and go on to win the finals. Let's get Kobe's stat line. I'll say it this time with 37 points, 6 rebounds, 2 assists on a 12 of 25 shooting, 3 of 8 from 3, 10 of 11 from the free throw line, also having 2 steals. Just a really impressive stat line just all throughout, and just incredible. 3 categories about the player himself, though. What would be the jersey you would buy for that player, or would you ever buy a jersey for that player? Carl, first off, do you have a Kobe jersey, and how many do you have?
Yes, I think I have 4 or 5, I want to say total.
Whoa.
I have there's when I was really, really little, I think I have Lakers 8, there's a me almost like a toddler size. I have that in gold and in purple. Another 8 in gold. Then I have what was it? Actually, dang, it's more. Then I have 24 in the alternate white that they had. Yeah. And also in the gold. Yeah.
Love it. Adam?
I have the 2012 USA one. And then I have a replica, a replica that I found for a pretty good deal of 8. Yeah, it's like a Reebok replica from that kind of 04, ish era. And then I have a jersey, a 24, the jersey tee from the kind of 2010-ish era as well. So those are the 3. Yeah, those are the 3 I have.
I think if I'm going to buy a jersey, it would be probably the later 2000s purple 24. Just because, I don't know. I think that's the jersey that I see as a Celtics fan, just in 2008 and then in 2010, just that purple one for some reason. I just see that one more. What other top 50 player would you pair with him? Well, how would you feel that we had a top 10 player paired with him for the first part of his career in Shaquille O'Neal?
Yeah.
I almost want to say Shaq is the correct answer, but I think the better answer here is Kareem Abdul-Jabbar. I think if you provide another big man for him, and a big man that had a similar work ethic and also kind of a similar killer demeanor that Kareem has in those early years of him, I think that'd be awesome. But that's just me. Carl, which top 50 player would you have pair with Kobe?
So top 50 player. So I do this because I just would love to see this guy play with anybody. Scottie Pippen.
Love it.
Okay.
Scottie
Had to bring the Michael
Yeah, had to. Yeah, because, he's Jordan-esque, but it's the things that Scottie Pippen that paired very well with Jordan running the same offense. You look at the thing that he was also really able to do was really also take that scoring. I mean, not really. I guess pseudo kind of backseat. He knew we're just going to give this up to kind of give this up to Jordan, but also being able to kind of handle the ball and do some things that forwards really weren't doing at that time. But being able to pair that with with Kobe, where it's it seemed it was really you were trying to offset him with it was a big most of the time when he had his best days. But it's almost what if you supercharge Lamar Odom. Kobe, just with kind of the ability of being able to have a taller guy that can do a little bit more and do all that, and then it's at that caliber, just to see what it would have done to Kobe's game. Probably wouldn't have been that much, but I also love it in the fact that because he was pretty much our Jordan clone, seeing what could he have done with that same same partner.
Fair enough. Adam, who'd you have?
Yeah, so I forgot to include this in the text to you guys. The rule, because my brother Austin, obviously Mitch, you know well, he came up with this idea for this category, and I like it. But he actually did have the rule of it can't be a player he's played with ever.
Oh,
So that would
well, that
obviously
worked
rule
out.
out Shaq. But you're Kareem, yeah. So Kareem's great. Kareem's a great answer. So there's a couple guys. I mean, obviously we can't choose Powell because he, played with him and he was such a perfect partner. And Powell is also much closer to this top 50 than people realize. We really debated that one for a second about whether we
You
should
did.
include him or not. But I went with Kevin McHale. I think he was actually really good at using bigs, and I think he would have known kind of when to kind of, hey, he's got a mismatch, I'm going to feed him. And he paired well with bigs. And I also think the mentality of Kevin McHale would be a good one to have with Kobe because McHale did not need to ever be like the guy. Like he never needed to be the star. He didn't really care. Like he knew how to kind of like take a backseat to Bird. So I think it needs to be a guy who is not going to clash ego wise with him. I also think McHale could bring out more of that kind of like sense of humor, competitive side of Kobe rather than the like, kind of a-hole side of Kobe. And I think that was good. I think that's actually when Kobe was at his best. I think he actually would be a really good pairing. And then obviously he's really good defensively, as Kobe is too. So that was mine. And he was, we actually, I think McHale was one of the guys who were like, man, do we continue to include him in this top 50? So he's on that kind of borderline, but we did put him in. So that was mine. I thought he'd be a nice fit.
I agree. Okay, final question, and it's the sad one.
Yeah.
Where is he now? And Adam, you want to go take this one?
Yeah, I mean, yeah. So obviously, it's January. I think it was January 26th. I put down. Yeah, 2020. Him alongside some others, including his daughter, died in a helicopter crash in LA. Genuinely just tragic event and day. I remember exactly where I was. When I kind of got the news. I obviously have a buddy that had done some work with his daughter's team as a trainer and had actually been able to have coffee with Kobe a few times and got to know him. And he told me, he's like, man, you would love talking to this guy. Like y'all just, you just see basketball. There's like you just are obsessed with it. So it was really cool to hear that. And then it's so unfortunate that a few months later, obviously he passed and that, not selfishly for me, but just like that, my friend couldn't get to continue having those conversations and learn from him, things like that. Just a really awful day, man. And that was just like, I remember so many people called me and it was just such like you just wanted to talk to people and be like, man, can you believe this? Like, like Kobe died. Like it just didn't make sense, really awful. This is probably going to be the saddest kind of where are they now, but really awful. Do y'all remember exactly kind of where you were when you heard the news?
Carl, I was about to ask you.
Yeah. I was at home, like, I think it was really just like, I feel like just a day I was just like lounging around and like all of a sudden it's just like, you just see all this stuff like popping in. And then like for what that year ended up being for just, all of humanity, like that was kind of like the first, like, like what?
First domino?
Yeah. Yeah. Like, I guess domino. Yeah. Like, and then, so like, you have that. I think, a thing for me also, was also seeing like, just to, as someone who reports for on women's basketball, just to kind of tie everything back, is just like seeing like, especially with that team and like Gigi and like the reaction that like the WNBA had like to her and everything, like, and the whole team, like the rest of the team that that went with them. It's like, I think also this year, I think it's the last of that, like one of the last girls of that team that was like, still still coming up. I think she's graduating either this year, I want to say, or something like that I saw. So it's kind of like I don't want way far from like where are they now or from like where I was, but it's like seeing like that side of like kind of like how things have kind of grown in like specifically like women's basketball, knowing like that's where he kind of was in that space at the time is something that like kind of leaves a void of like, if you had like this type of advocate, like where does that fit in? Like, like you see the way the game has grown right now. So like, that's kind of like my mentality from it. I know I went away from the question, but I just had to think about that.
No, I get it. I remember I was, and it's kind of stupid. I was coming back, Carl. Me and two buddies, we broke onto Mizzou's practice field and we're kicking field goals that morning. And we literally were pulling into the driveway, and I was driving, and my buddy got the notification, and we're like, what? And we rushed inside and to our apartment, and we watched the news for the rest of the day. I don't know if we've watched the news longer in college outside of an election night than we did that night. And that was, it was very sad, very crazy. And the amount of stories that just came out of it over the next 24 hours, the amount of Kobe stories that sports reporters, sports anchors, just anyone tied to sports and some that weren't even tied to sports that came out and just talked was just very heartwarming. But it also just is like, man, the impact that he had, especially on our generation, it's just crazy. And then all culminating into the funeral that they had at was now crypto, and then the Jordan speech that he gave, Michael Jordan gave, was pretty special as well. So
it was a Sunday. I do remember that it was a Sunday.
Yep.
Yeah, I just remember getting just so many calls and just all that, yeah, I think it's one of those times where you realize just like just how giant this person is, and the footprint he left kind of culturally is just so huge. And look, since then there's obviously like it almost feels like weird to like criticize him, but also there also is this kind of like weird like you're not allowed to talk about him anymore thing. It's just it just yeah, this is why he's so fascinating. It's why we chose to do him first. It's like it just. Yeah, everything about him is just really interesting. I mean, he won an Oscar, in his last year of his life. It's like, it's just so crazy, like the kind of things that he was probably going to go on to do. And that's, obviously so tragic, any kind of death is tragic, but to lose someone like that obviously is huge. And those just poor young girls too. So yeah, man, such a crazy way to kind of go out. But I mean, he left such a cool like footprint, and obviously there's tons of controversy to his life, and I think that's the story of Kobe Bryant's life and career is like why he will kind of endure, and is why he's so much more popular than some of his other contemporaries, because like it's not a straight line, like it's not like I'm looking up, I have this Tim Duncan bobblehead above kind of where I'm recording, and I'm like, he will never be as popular because like it's just like weirdly freakish consistency with Tim Duncan. It's like it's not that interesting to talk about. Like I can't wait to do his episode because like I just love the guy, but like there's not an up and down. Like it's just kind of like, yep, he was really good. The teams were really good. He was a great teammate. And it was like this off the court. There was nothing. Like it's just kind of okay. Like that's awesome. So it's not as interesting to follow. I mean, Kobe, it's like this Hollywood script, right? Of just like from high school and like there's just these just constant kind of ups and downs, and his peaks get so high and his lows are so low. It's just like a really fascinating life and career. And one that I think is totally worthy of a breakdown like this. I just think he's endlessly fascinating.
Absolutely agree. Carl, I appreciate you joining us to kick off our summer season once again. We will probably have you back on a few more times as we do these next two summers. And if you haven't, please go watch or go follow Carl as he's covering the WNBA for the Mystics. Tonight this is coming out a month later, but Carl is coming off a 4 overtime game, and he could not be more tired. I've used him twice this week already. Thanks everyone for listening. This has been awesome start. We are super excited for this summer to break down more and more. We're going to do 25 players this summer, 25 players next summer. Adam, do you want to tell the people who we have up on Friday?
Yeah, I do want to kind of tease out each one because, obviously I want people to like get in the mode and like if they want to go watch some highlights or some old games, stuff like that. So our second player in this long running series is Julius Erving.
Dr. J, baby.
Dr. J, yes, very excited for this one. There's more video of this guy than we initially thought, so we're gonna be able to find some pretty cool games. So I'm very excited to kind of break down the career of Dr. J. Again, one of the most popular players of his era, and I actually think kind of an underrated player when you look back at the league's history. So super excited for that one.
It's gonna be a blast. Carl, thanks for joining us, my man. Any final Kobe thoughts?
One, thanks for having me. I mean, final Kobe thoughts is just for everyone listening. Like it's like kind of like just reiterating what Adam said. Is that it's just the entire like experience of his career that is just so like encapsulating. Like there's, like all the good, all the bad, and it's just like you're just left with this career where it's like life and career where it's like that man lived, that man played basketball. Like it was like everything was on the line, and like that's what people need to understand about the way he played too, because that fully like how they say the way you play basketball is like the way you live your life, and like he fully lived the way that he played basketball.
Absolutely agree. Thanks everyone for listening. This is the first episode. This is the Anatomy of a Superstar, Kobe Bryant.